Hello, this is Tony, or my stage name, Mirage, if you want to call it that, even though I've never been on a stage before. um, so, this video is going to be about Cold Visions by Bladee. You can call it an analysis. It's really just my personal thoughts on the album, as well as what vibes I think Bladee was trying to go for, and what message he was trying to send. So we're going to hop right into it. This is going to be the longest video. I was kind of like dreading doing this video in my head when I thought about when I thought, oh, I'm going to do Blade's entire discography. I'm going to do analysis of his entire discography. Then I was thinking about doing this album and including it, and I was like, oh. So it released in April, so that's April, June, July, August. So it's 3 months later. But so maybe you should call this a first thoughts, because I might want to go back and revisit this album for some particular imagery or messaging, or messages that are being said in it, what type of philosophy is it espousing, right? So so I might come back to this project, but I definitely do just want to cover it just because this is Blade's most recent album. So you can think about it as it's his most recent message he's trying to send us as his audience of where he is, And to be honest, it could not be where he is currently, but it could be where he has been emotionally, right? Or spiritually, or what you want to say, right? So, and this is taking into context a lot of, if you're coming into this blind, like, this is the format of the YouTube channel where I just turn on the camera and I talk about, Blade, or I post some of my own music, whether it's auto-tuned or guitar. So this format may not be for you. I would recommend you watch the first one and kind of go through it if you want to do his discography in somewhat order, although I have been going out of order because my planning is bad. But anyways, let's get right into it. I should put some timestamps in there. I keep meaning to put timestamps when I talk about specific stuff, so it's a little more digestible, because I can go on, anyways. I'll see if I can try to add some timestamps to these videos. That'd be good. So we're going to start with Paranoia intro. Wake up, filthy. That's one of the producers of Working on Dying, right? So Blade is going back into his darker sounding era of music, if that makes sense. Okay, so we've had light albums like Exeter, I would say is very light, very nice on the ears album. Good Luck is another album. 333, right? Crest, these are all like Blade's spiritual, like, like, look, I'm making music directly for God, if you want to call it that, or for a higher power, for something other than himself. This is what the fans wanted. They wanted to see evil Blade back again, right? And Blade had been pushing it off. He released Spider. It was like, hey, look, I'm still messing with dark themes. But people didn't even like Spider. There were a lot of people who were like, oh, no, it's kind of a weak album. I love Spider, like I do all Blade's albums. But this album is going back to using also older producers, like Working on Dying. I know White Armor, I think he only has one song in this, where White Armor has like produced tons of songs for Crest and Exeter and all that. I could be also wrong. White Armor may have been more involved in Cold Visions than we know. But we're getting Working on Dying, and Filthy, right? Not many brain cells left, but I'm ready for, I play this game like chess, just wait for it. So he's saying, and this is, the really hard part to understand, is Blade is very much into drugs, right? So when he says not many brain cells left, and when he says that, right, he just means like, I am just doing all this stuff, And so you can look at it in one of two ways. You can look at it as like, oh no, he's another failed, person who fell to the addiction, or blah blah blah. Or you can see it as like, hey, no. He says, I don't have any brain cells left. Like, I'm still stuck in my pride or my bad decisions or my sin. I'm still stuck in that, but I'm ready for... he's about to say I'm ready for it, like he's ready for something better to happen. Waiting for a change in lifestyle, a change in habits. But then you hear the ha ha ha. Like, no, that's not going to happen. You know, sorry. You're stuck on this path and it's just going straight to the ground. Which is so crazy considering that, you know, his past albums have been like him like looking at this spiritual place, and you almost like, as a listener, you're like, oh, he's, you know, just there with peace, and he's, you know, with God. You know, God is love, it's his drug, you know. But then Blade says, fine, fans, you want it? You didn't like Good Luck, you didn't like 333, you thought Blade was, you know, was not putting out the cool stuff. He's like, here it is. And he releases this really long album, which is Cold Visions. I might not have any brain cells left after going through this review, because we are already at 6 minutes and we're in the first line the first line of the track. I play this game like chess, just wait for it. I have my chessboard. Where? Can you see it? Up there. Yeah. Keep trying to find people to play with me, but IRL, but I play online. I play this game like chess. So the reason why chess is an important image here is it's a game that's been now like fully solved by computers, you know? If you are into any chess YouTube, which I am, you know, you can watch like GM Levy, you can watch people talk about how the game has fundamentally changed. I think Bobby Fischer, there's like a interview of him on YouTube, and he was just like, oh, I hate how people play chess now, you know? Like, I hate when that happens. Like, all they're doing is following exactly what the computer says to, like, the thousandth move and just memorizing that. It used to be about, like, you know, it used to be about creativity, you know? Which, if you think about that idea in contrast with, you know, Blade's releases, you know, it used to be about creativity. He was creating really amazing spiritual tracks and loving tracks with Exeter, with Good Luck, with 333, you know, with Crest, right? But now he's taking out the creativity. Bobby Fischer would be like, oh no, they're taking the creativity out of chess, you know, they're just memorizing what the computer outputs as the best algorithm or solution, you know, and so they're just like, what does Drain Gang say? We play this game like chess, calculated, you know, we know everything that's going to happen, you know, just wait for it. Just wait till they play this game, and the game, you could argue it's either chess or it could be like a metaphor for like, for life, you know. We play this game of life like chess. Just wait for it. Because you've heard, you know, people use that before, like the game of life, you know. It's actually a board game, right? Anyways, we're getting off track. Styx River. We in the Styx River. I know the River Styx is an important metaphor, or not metaphor, what am I saying? It's an important... it's an important element of the story in Greek mythology, right? And it's the river Styx. I'm pretty sure it leads you on the pathway to the underworld, or, you know, hell, or whatever you want to call it. So he says we're in that and we're getting wet, you know, which is such an interesting image when you think about it, because water is supposed to be this healing, you know. You take a shower every day, you drink water to survive, you know, you play in water at the pool or whatever, you know. And so imagine like Blade at the Styx River pool, just hanging and chilling out, getting wet, you know. And it's interesting because water can be, what I just said, a source of good. We need to drink it every day to survive. In fact, I should probably get my water. Sorry about that. I just realized needed to hydrate. And so getting wet in the Styx River, he's basically like, we're just doing really bad stuff that in Greek mythology would be considered dark, you know. Lose every chance I get, kill every chance I get, dress to impress, yeah, you know, Blade talks constantly about how um, he's he wears designer clothes, right? And he wears all this really expensive stuff, really, really expensive stuff, you know, um, dressed to impress, right? He and then he in the next line he says axe in the backpack. So it's almost like, you know, this is the side of Blade where he introduces like a, a fairy tale element, you know. He kind of played with it in Exeter, but in this he says I got the axe in the backpack. And what's interesting about an axe is it only has one sharp side, okay? But you think of Blade has two sharp sides. So you also have to be thinking about the imagery of Blade's name, you know. And we've talked about it before with the arrowhead as well, how, you know, two sides reach a point, you know. You get that with an arrowhead, you get that with a blade, you know, but an axe is just one hard side. And I'm guessing I'll let you do the math on which side of good and evil Blade is fighting for right now. You know, it's kind of interesting. It's interesting to think about it, you know, and at least think about what your own interpretation is of Blade's lyrics, because I think what I hate on YouTube is that I see a lot of reactions and it's usually people just being like, oh yeah, this sounds cool, you know, I really liked his flow here or whatever. Or I'll see album reviews where people rate the album like there's even a way to rate music, you know. There's going to be an audience for every type of music, you know. How big that audience is, you know, varies. But, you know, to sit here and say that music is can be like objectively or even subjectively terrible, like, I think it's kind of crazy. And then making a whole YouTube and then you kind of have like subscribers focused on that idea, right? Anyways, so Blade has the axe in the backpack. I gotta stay on track here. And the blade only has one sharp side. I got so old, I'm sorry, the axe only has one sharp side. I got so old I got embarrassed to be even here, you know. I'm losing feeling here, you know. Still, I'm the only hero. Blade thinks he's the only person who can save everybody and if you're thinking about this in a spiritual context, save the lives of everybody through his music, through the feelings he gives out, right? But I don't think he's the only hero. I think everyone is a hero, including me and including Blade and including the person down the street, you know, who you don't know. And everyone in the world is a hero because we're all working together to kind of tell this story of life, right? Anyways, paranoia. The only thing that's left is paranoia, you know. And this is really like, you know, I've been there. I've experienced paranoia. It's like everything is crumbling around you, you know. Your whole reality is crumbling, you know. But he says he's got blood in his eyes. Now you can take that in two ways. You can either take that thinking about spirituality, like Jesus cried tears of blood, you know. But Blade also could be aforementioning that he's just really high off of drugs or cannabis or something like that, right? So you can take it in two ways. High paranoia. Paranoia cold, you know. Because he's not, you know, I'd have to think about that more, why he uses specific ad-libs in certain parts. But, you know, he's just reminding people that this is a cold vision that he's having, probably, you know. Blood in my eyes dripping. Anyways, it's going to be difficult since we're on the first song and we're already at 14 minutes. I might have to split this up into two parts, but we'll see how it goes. Now, this song is W.O.D. Rainer, so you can pronounce it as working on Drainer, or it could be working on dying Rainer, and that could be a new cool word they created. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure it's working on Drainer. I'm working on dying, you know. So that's the producer tag of Filthy. um, which they used in Blade's album Working on Dying, or WODG. So here he says, must be nice, dirty ass East Pack backpack, blood money in the trash bag. I bought 1,000 Smurfs on eBay. I was on shrooms, needless to say. So there he's just saying, like, hey, I got blood money. Like, this money that I've earned from, I guess, his fans, you know. I wouldn't call that blood money, but this money that he earns, he keeps it in a trash bag, you know. My life is this. My life is I wear really expensive, you know, backpacks, you know, but it's dirty. You know, I've been using it a lot, right? Um, blood money in a trash bag. You know, Blade always talks about trash. There's an album, Trash Island, right? You got to listen to that. Blade talks about stuff from different albums in his current stuff, or the same motifs at least, or the same themes. You can see connections through all the albums, right? If you look hard enough. I bought 1,000 Smurfs on eBay. I was on shrooms, needless to say. I think that line explains itself. I am the Rain King, can't stop the rain. You know, and if this might be helpful if you go back to my previous video on Rain World. That was actually a two-parter, which this video is potentially could be because we're already at 16 minutes and I'm only in the second song. But you can't stop the rain. Like, literally, you can't. Like, the weather's out of our control. But also, you can't stop this spirituality, this message being put on you. Like, when you're out in the rain, like, it's all around you, you know? And if you think of rain as an allegory or a metaphor for message, you can't stop the message, right? I'm having traumatic flashbacks. He's having nightmares, right? Because of all the bad stuff, all of his sins, you know. And he talks about more sin, about stuff about sins in The Fool, which I'll hopefully do in the future, you know. But you have to think about that, you know. I'm at the airport fast track, trying everything. I'm a lab rat. Now, this is what I was talking about with Blade being really, you know, into drugs. Like, he tries everything like a lab rat. And true, there's actually a question mark. I guess these are the official lyrics. I'm not sure. Anyways, say you love me, elaborate on that. This is talking about love and its inner complexities. It would be so hard to say all my thoughts on it, but in order for the sake of this review to go faster, say you love me, elaborate on that. He's saying, like, what kind of love is it? Is it a love that's intimate? Is it a love that's platonic? You know? Is it a love that, like, you feel like you're forced to love this other person, you know? Or you're feeling like you couldn't do anything without being with this person, you know? Are you dependent? You know? Elaborate on this love. He's saying, higher power, elaborate on this love. And why do you love me? Even though I'm so broken. That's another way you could think about it if you were thinking about it from a spiritual context. Speaking the truth and then I become that. Self-explanatory. C'est la vie, that's life. You know, go tell your mom that. Some of Blade's lyrics don't need to be fully explained once you understand the first part about him is that he's making lyrics that you can tie that he's telling you the story of his life through his albums, through allegory, right? And so then you break down the allegory and you can find out the true meaning of what Blades is saying, right? I know I fell off, but this is the comeback, you know? And it's interesting because people, you know, they wanted Evil Blade, they got him, you know, and Cold Visions is popping off, like there's all these new drainers coming up, you know, and they're like vibing with the music and stuff. Drain gang, we follow the code, we honor that. So that could be like a moral code, you know, like maybe it's the golden rule. Ice Dancer, walk in the store, I want all of that. Ice Dancer, I'm living in Disneyland, you know. When you think about Disneyland, it's a whole it's like a amusement park of different stories and attractions that are related to those stories. Like they have, you know, the Tower of Terror, ride. They have the Rock and Roller Coaster. I haven't been to Disney World since I was a child. I would love to go again, but unfortunately, it's way too expensive for my budget. So much designer. I got sick of that. So much designer. We've been in that again. So a lot of Cold Visions is just going to be him flexing throughout the album. So moments where he flexes, I might just skip over that, unless there's something that jumps out to me. Stepping out in Converse and Vans. I'm counting more stars than fingers. 3 stars, feeling lingers. Again, remember this image of 3 stars, that he talks about. 333 was one of his albums. He sees 3 stars. You can think of it literally, as with Orion's belt, or you can think about it figuratively. 3 stars is the Trinity. You can think about it spiritually. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. What is the meaning of that story? In that case, it would be the Christian story. Okay, so you just got to think about Blade's lyrics in a more open way and like researching what he's talking about, right? SB, we cold like Christmas, That's the funny part, is it's cold, so it's uncomfortable and it's bad. It's a cold vision he's having, but we also associate some good with cold, Like, what's better than waking up on a Monday morning and all of work was canceled because it snowed so bad, and you're just drinking a cup? Or he says we cold like Christmas. What's the best feeling about a white Christmas, to say? A Christmas where it snowed, and you look outside and everything's white and it feels pure, So think about that. We cold like Christmas. He's having cold visions. A lot of them are bad, but there is some good in them too. Sleep is the one time I'm happy. I relate to that as well. As someone who's, in the past had difficulty falling asleep, I relate to that very strongly. I'm waiting for a disaster or something else bad to happen. That ties back to the paranoia. Montana, I feel like Tony. Well, my name is Tony, so I vibe with that line. My full name, my first name's Anthony, but I've always just gone by Tony. Montana, I feel like Tony, when he was in the club, he was sitting all fucked up just before the shootout. So you think about the movie Tony Montana, I believe that's Scarface. Yeah, he does a crap ton of, redacted white snow, white powder. And he's in the club and he's waiting for, the final fight that he's got to do, just before the shootout, And Blade also is saying he's like Tony Montana because Tony Montana was an addict, right, of cocaine. I'm reading this next line, sorry. I just wanted to take a moment to pause and think about what I had to say. Order 100 bottles, send that back into madness to send back. I came back from a heart attack. I'm back. So he may be saying that because he does a little bit later in the album talk about how he went to rehab, and it's very sad, He could be saying, like, I came back from a really dark place, whether it be with drugs, whether it be with sadness, depression, but he came back from a heart attack. Like, it was almost like a miracle. That's all I can say about that. I paint better than Rembrandt. Blade is either the sole creator or he's very much the lead designer on all of the Drain Gang artwork, And so he says, I paint better than Rembrandt. Just look at the album cover picture. This might be the only video where instead of having the thumbnail be me, I might just put the Cold Visions album cover just for ease of access, but we'll see about that. I'm Drain better than Drain. Drain better than who? Is he talking about the higher power? Because that would be really interesting. He'd be wrong, in my opinion. You can't not only God is made perfect, right? But anyways, he purposely deletes that word for whatever reason. They starstruck off this news flash. Depression clinging to my back. Depression. He's carrying his cross of all his sins, and his baggage. Sharp ass claws all in its hands. I'm infected from the scratch. Depression. So like a zombie might infect somebody, or how a communicable disease might infect somebody. He's infected from a scratch, from its scratch. And the scratch is his sorrows or his trials that he has to deal with, right? I need not even a moment, I need some atonement. They won't let up on me, man. A lot of his lyrics are, once you understand like the fact of once you understand how Blade is writing his music, a lot of his lyrics just become way easier to understand and comprehend, right? You just have to take that first step of saying like, oh, Blade is telling me his life story through a set of works, and each one of these works has elements in them, some true, some false, but mostly true to Blade's story, right? And he's heavily into allegory, especially Christian allegory and metaphors. And he's creating a new story, which is actually his life story, but it's just how we're meant to, understand it, right? So, thought it was over, I'm back. Thought I would quit, I can't. What else am I supposed to do when I don't even want to be close to you? I don't want to be next to you. So, again, is he talking about his fans? Is he talking about this higher power? He doesn't want to be close to the higher power. Is he talking about his girl? The person he really loves? Who knows? Blade is being intentionally vague so that you can try to talk about what he's saying, And we've seen this in the past with movies. Like, there's movie buffs, and people think, oh, there's movies that are great allegories for real life, But with music, it's different because it's so highly personalized what someone's music taste is. And a lot of music is just allegory for having fun or love or happiness, And so Blade is using very deep / philosophical allegory and metaphor for Cold Visions. And so you just gotta be like, oh my gosh, we're at 27 minutes. And I'm only on track 2. Maybe I just say this is initial thoughts on Cold Visions, and part 1 of a Cold Visions analysis. I might have to come back to this, to be honest, because just talking about all this is, a little overwhelming at points. And I wanted to play guitar a little later. Sleep is a one time, I'm happy. I need atonement. Thought it was over, I'm back. Thought I would quit, I can't. What else am I supposed to do when I don't even want to be close to you? Don't want to be next to you. Sun is shining, I can't stop rhyming. Working on dying too. He's gone. If you think of his music as a story arc, he went up and then down. And then up, he had the really high point with Exeter. Or before that, he had the down with Working on Dying, right? Which came out after Ever Since, So it was like in the middle, up, down, then boom, he releases all this Good Luck, Exeter, all these albums that are spiritually like, they sound very much like that. And then boom, drops into Cold Visions, drops into, first Psychos, that came out first, which is interesting, and then right into Cold Visions, So that's stuff you gotta think about. You get X'd out, you're excused. I'm pretty sure they're gonna talk about how he has a song. Yep, the name of the song, XD Out, off of Ever Since. Thank you, contributor, who is the Wave. I guess we'll give him a shout out for that one. Shout outs to you, A is the Wave. On Genius. Anyways, 3 stars, G-Shock, my wrist is. So he's wearing a G-Shock, appendature. We cold like Christmas. Catch up with us. Can't catch me. You can't. He's almost saying like you can't obtain, um, um, you can't obtain this understanding and this knowledge that we have as Drain Gang, you know, and we're gatekeeping it in a sense. Can't catch up with us. I think we can catch up if we talk more about Blade's music instead of, you know, not talk about Blade's music. Sleep is the one time Sleep is the one time I'm happy. I definitely agree with that. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. I want it to be a little bit digestible, and I'm busy with other things I'm working on. But let's leave it with that, and let's just call it Cold Vision Initial Thought / Analysis Part 1, something to that nature. All right, peace.